Hey everyone, the Lighting Collector here. Welcome back to another street lighting review. I haven't done too many of these in a while. Although, funnily enough, I've actually got a couple I still haven't uploaded. But what you're looking at here is a 2003 General Electric M400R3. Or if you want to go all technical crazy and get upset about that, the M400 itself, or the MRSL. You know, because GE decided that they couldn't just call it R3 themselves after the R2. They needed to go back to the M400 name, which was something they used, 30 plus years beforehand. So it gets confusing, hence the coined term of R3 and A3. And that's what I'm going to use because it's out of habit and I like how it sounds more. But this is obviously one of the last mercury vapor fixtures made, along with the American Electric 125, the Hubbell RLG, and of course the Cooper OVD and OVY, and OVX, because they made those up into this wattage too. And I think that's all the ones I can think of that were mercury vapor. Oh, well, I guess technically Lumec made sort of mercury vapor fixtures. They were probe start metal halides, so close enough. So obviously this was, one of the newer installs, and these are relatively common, or they were in mercury around here. They weren't particularly long lasting, of course, but I do see them in HPS every now and then too. The highway department liked them in HPS a lot more than the utilities did, at least here. But in certain areas, these were the only mercury fixtures installed after the 90s and so forth, and so they were everywhere. Just here we used 125s and such more. So this is one of the little era of GE where they didn't have good capacitors and their tags kind of sucked. So this is mercury, but it looks like it could be HPS or metal halide because the tag is not blue. But I promise you it's factory mercury vapor, and you'll see in a moment. This has a multi-tap ballast inside of it, and for those unaware, this uses the same lens as the American Electric 125 because this is effectively a copy of it that came out 10 years later. And it's like, Mom, or not Mom, it's, hey, could I copy your homework? Yeah, just change it a little bit so the teacher doesn't notice. That's what this is, pretty much, because it's a fatter, more chunky, and more, honestly, like a shoe shape, kind of, like a clog shoe, if you know what those are. It's very bulky compared to the 125, which also was a copy of another fixture, the Westinghouse OV25 two-door, their power door model they made from 1970 to 1985. So, another funny thing about these is that GE decided, for cost purposes, to cast the door on the single door models the same way they would the power door models. So you have your little hinge things here, you got your ballast standoffs for the mounting for the ballast, but it's a single door, and it even has on the side and the bottom the little hinge indents there, and a little engraving, I guess, or cut where it would have been split if it were a power door model. So I find that kind of funny that they did that. And another funny thing GE did, two funny things. One, their mercury ballast was rather tiny compared to the HPS ballast of the same wattage. And then they also decided that even though this isn't a power door model, they're still going to make it with a ballast tray, which is what you see here. So kind of interesting that they did that. And I'm going to try to get the big old camera lens here to look at the tag, which is dang near impossible. There you go. It's wired for 120, and there's the MRSL part, so that's the actual order number, and then when they put it on the catalogs they called it just the M400. And then it was like MRSL for the cutoff, and then I can't remember what the sag lens one was. I have a sag lens, so I guess I could look at that one. But somewhere on there it does say H33. Obviously you can see that with the lamp. So yeah, pretty cool That is a replacement capacitor because, of course, this one came with a bad capacitor, as these often did. And the two differences between the 125 and these are obviously the rather chunky side profile and also the bail latch. On the American Electric fixtures, the latch is integrated into the door, and it's a little kind of thumb or a finger looking thing. It just sticks out and it goes through a hole in the door. So this one, they like the bail latches during this time period. And yeah, so there's that. It has a photocell, but obviously I put a shorting cap on it because it's daytime. So I found that doing these videos in the day is better because it's easier for you to see more details on the fixture and give you an overview, and also you can still see the shape of the fixture when it's on, while if it's a nighttime video it's just a glowing blob kind of, and that kind of gets annoying. So I've found trial and error that this is the best filming time. So sorry about the yippy little dogs that all of a sudden just need to be outside right now. Guess it beats the German Shepherd that used to live there, but only barely. So here goes. And the lamp I'm running is a DeMar clear lamp that I bought a couple of years ago, probably 2 or 3 now. I bought it from Light Bulb Depot in person, actually. It's actually a really well-made lamp. I would say that really now we don't have a lot of choices anyways. They're a pretty good mercury vapor brand, and HID in general, and fluorescent, and definitely incandescent. I've had great luck with all their products over the years, and yeah, they're made in China, but what isn't anymore, sadly. But yeah, it's really cool to have one of these in mercury, as like I said, they're kind of common but also not. I saw more of them growing up than I do now, because like I said, the capacitors tend to, you know, suck. So they have vanished a lot in the last 5 to 10 years. And then there was a brief time where they were using these in pulse start metal halide, and those were really bad, and they did not last. Most of them died within 2 to 3 years of being installed, maybe even earlier. And I don't know of any really that exists now. They promptly replaced most of them with 125s in the same wattage and lamp type, and then later replaced with HPS versions of the 125, because I guess they either discontinued pulse start or they just decided to stop using metal halide altogether. Can't remember why or which. Yeah, these are cool. I forgot to mention it on this video because this is my second take. This is actually a hybrid ballast. It can run metal halide. They would ship these or put them in the box with either a blue or a red tag from the factory, because I think since 1967 or whenever they started offering the metal halide bulbs, somewhere in that range of time, they designed their mercury ballast to work at least fairly decently well with mercury vapor or metal halide lamps, so that whether you bought a metal halide tagged fixture or either ordered it or mercury, you could run either one. Obviously all metal halide probe start ballasts can run mercury vapor, but it's usually not this case for backwards. They're not normally able to run the metal halide bulbs on mercury ballasts because of the OCV value being different and a couple of other things. But GE decided that they wanted to make them all what we call a hybrid ballast from the get-go. So this one, like any other mercury GE made in the last 40 or 50 years, is able to run either one. And also, like most of the GEs like this, that pretty much has unbelievably terrible paint and is nearly silver in color because of how faded and dull the gray paint got. That's very common with any GE fixture made in this era. Doesn't matter what model, they pretty much all did this when they were gray. I've noticed the other colors were not as bad. They offered these in like black and bronze, I think, and I'm sure other colors if you wanted to pay extra for that. And those were a lot more resilient paint finishes than their standard gray, or the light gray as they called it. And we'll see if this will ramp up. I'm starting to get decent wattage here. The first capacitor I tried was not great.
This one is better.
It is better, but there could still be something wrong with the ballast itself, because on another fixture that this capacitor came from, it ramped up quite instantly and drew less amperage and everything else. But it is at least capping 300 watts, which last time it wouldn't do, so I'm going to let it run, and it might make the video a little longer, but I'm thinking I can get this to a actual 400 watt operation. So, yeah, you can kind of see they're a bit of a clog shape there, very chunky. I don't have a 125 out here. Well, no, I don't. I have one in the garage, but I don't feel like digging it out right now while recording. But I will make a video specifically just comparing these, and I will bring the two-door into the lineup too to show that each one has played off the previous design a little bit. So basically this is a copy of the OV25 two-door in short. Sorry, one of my lighting friends is here too with me. He's working on some stuff. It's getting to 370 watts, so we're good, but it does draw near 5 amps, which is a bit odd. Maybe these ballasts just do that? I don't know. I didn't look at the cap or the tag to see. I will say the power factor is a little lower than I thought it would be, but it's slowly climbing. Let me see if I have a picture of the amperage it's supposed to draw. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think it's drawing a little bit higher than it's supposed to here. But it is getting reasonably bright now, so that's good. Capacitor's getting better on this ballast, but okay, now it's drawing 435 watts, 440, so we're getting full brightness now, which is good. I'm thinking the ballast is a little tired because it's drawing 5.16 amps, but power factor is not as good as the cap was on another fixture. Not sure why that is, it's kind of weird. But it is bright. So maybe there's just a little issue with the ballast there. I might end up replacing it. I like keeping things original, but you know, maybe I'll find a GE high bay that I can cannibalize parts off of and throw that ballast in or something, I don't know. But for the sake of the video, this is at least acceptable, but it is drawing a lot more watts than I expected. It's over 500, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the power to this because I'm not sure why it's running off that high. That's a bit concerning, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you again for watching. Obviously this light needs a little bit more work, which is fine, no big deal. I'm kind of used to that with all these street lights these days. Most of them have some kind of issue that needs to be fixed, mostly capacitors, but a couple of ballasts and other things here and there. Had 2 fixtures with broken slip fitter studs, actually 3. So, you know, it's part of this hobby, you know. So yeah, one more thing I'll do is I'll just show what the whole arm setup looks like. It's on one of the union metal 2-inch 6-foot rise, 6-foot long angled up sweep arms, although I believe they just called it a pipe arm, which is kind of what it is, but I like to call it an angled up sweep because it makes it sound a lot nicer. And that's a very common arm for this area. In fact, the major roads and my neighborhood light poles, for that matter, have this exact arm. It's very common here. And I don't see this style of arm in most of the country, or the state for that matter, so it's kind of cool that we're somewhat unique. This is more common in a parking lot. So yeah, there we go. It got up to full brightness and started to run off a little higher than I thought it would, so hopefully it didn't cook itself. I didn't let it run too long. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully I'll get more videos out at some point.